Hello. Today is the Tuesday, the 17th of December, and today we're going to do a couple of things you can see all revolved around what was occurring during Reconstruction. And so our first word, our vocab word today is the 13th Amendment. And an amendment is literally just to change the Constitution, which is good because that's hard to do. So once you do it, it's very hard to undo. And it was ratified in 1865. It was ratified President Lincoln. This was probably one of his most important things that he felt that he did is to abolish slavery in the United States, to make it illegal to have slavery. So sum that up in your own words. The target today is to explain which of the Reconstruction actions you feel like had the most and least success for freedmen, former slaves, is what we're looking at. We're going to return papers today. We're going to start with that, get those off of my hands, and so you can see what you have and help me make any corrections and just see so you have papers back before we take the test on the Civil War. Then we're going to work on Reconstruction, what sharecropping is, and the review guide. So hopefully this pulls up for us. It's thinking about it. So yesterday we got the Reconstruction Plan sheet, and I had asked you to finish the presidential Reconstruction, the 13th Amendment, Freedmen's Bureau, and Black Codes. And then today I had everybody go ahead and look up and define the 14th Amendment, Military Reconstruction Act, and sharecropping. And then what we did is we took a look at what they were. And, the 13th Amendment got rid of slavery. This right here, that goes down to it, is a picture of freedmen, the Freedmen's Bureau. This is this was a school that was put together with money through the Freedmen's Bureau to help African Americans learn to read and write. And it was pretty cool because anybody of any age could go to this. And so we've got young children all the way up to grandmas and grandpas that are learning how to read and write for the first time. This is an example of a book that they might be looking at, a primer. So it's got words to work on, and then it's got them in a sentence to work on reading. And then these are example of black codes. So this is what African Americans rules that they had to follow. So once the Civil War ended, there were rules put in place to ensure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, quote unquote. And what they're supposed to be doing is being second-class citizens. So most of the South believed, and other parts of the United States too, that, okay, there's no slavery, that's a good thing, but they shouldn't really be treated as equal citizens. So these laws, like this one, in the parish, so the county of St. Landry, they're not allowed to go within the limits of this parish without special permit. So they had to have a note saying they could go into this parish. Another black code example is that they had to be working for a white person or their former owner who was held responsible for them. So they had to be working even if they didn't want to be, and they most likely ended up working for the person who had owned them just, a time before. This one talked about if you're not in the military, you can't carry a firearm. You can't have a weapon on you of any kind. These black codes are all put into place to keep African Americans as second-class citizens, to keep them from not being equal to white people. And so close to slavery, but not slavery because there's no slavery anymore. But these laws keep them out of recognizing real freedoms. And then the 14th Amendment, make sure you look that up. That goes back to our Reconstruction plan. So this is what we did now today, is I had everybody go to Chapter 22, Section 3, write down what the 14th Amendment was, what Military Reconstruction Act was, and what sharecropping was. So 14th Amendment, look that up. This is military districts. So each of these colors represents a different district. The districts are different sizes because they're based on population. And so they would have a general, somebody in charge of the district with a part of the military that was there to ensure the South was doing what they were supposed to be doing and protecting African Americans, because just because the war ended does not mean that racism and hurt feelings aren't there. So this is really also helping freedmen as well. And then the last one is sharecropping. Take a moment to look at that picture. If you wouldn't know, you'd assume this was one from before the Civil War. You've got African Americans in the field picking cotton. Well, sharecropping was a lot like that. The idea of sharecropping, and you'll see it when you read it, is literally that you would share the crop. You have owners that need workers, and you have former slaves that need jobs. It seems like the perfect marriage or working relationship between the two is that they'd rent out the land, and then the sharecroppers, the African Americans, would get some of the profit of this land. The problem is that this was a way to trap African Americans on a piece of land, many of them on the same piece of land that they had just been slaves. So this shows us that the sharecropper is provided land and seed, and they exchange to give half of the crop. So the sharecropper has to buy things from the owner or from the merchant, the store, which is many times owned by the landowner. They have to buy stuff like food and clothing throughout the year, and then the sharecropper would plant and harvest it, and then they would sell it. But then they'd have to pay back all the things that they bought, on IOUs that they bought on credit. And then when it's all said and done, the sharecropper still owes the landlord more money because they had to purchase things. They couldn't have a garden. They couldn't hunt because it wasn't their land, and the owner didn't allow them to hunt or to plant a garden on the land. It had to only be cotton. And so now the sharecropper has to stay on that land because they owe a debt, and they have to stay there until they pay off the debt. And so in the end, they end up maybe never getting out of debt. And sometimes that's the way it worked. And sometimes the owners would manipulate it, change the books so that they owed more money or gave them less money, their profit for the cotton, because many African Americans couldn't write or do math, so didn't know, really were at the mercy of the owners of the land. So this was a horrible system, and it kept many African Americans on the same land that they had been as slaves, almost like slavery. So that's the third one. We're going to get to this last one tomorrow. You guys are going to complete that up tomorrow before we talk about our last couple of things with Reconstruction. So, and then the review guide, that is actually in Schoology. See if I'm not in the right place, but it's in the our purple folder, and it's called Civil War and Reconstruction Review Guide. So make sure that you find that. All right, any questions? Make sure you come talk to me or send me an email. Otherwise, have a great day and be working on your Chapter 21 essential question, and be looking over vocab for the quiz that'll be on Friday. All right, thanks. Have a great day.